MacLeod. He's the partner at the law firm of Kelley, Drye, and Warren. His practice focuses on competition law, trade regulation, advertising, privacy, and security. He's also co-chair of the Antitrust Practice Group. Prior to that, he held positions such as Director of Bureau of Consumer Protection at the FTC and advisor to the Assistant Attorney General Antitrust Division in the U.S. Department of Justice. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I am William MacLeod, and in addition to the experience that you described, I would also note that I represent many thousands of small businesses, both directly and through their trade associations, but I am also here today on my own. I am not speaking on behalf of them, which gives me the rare privilege of being able to say what I think on the basis of my experience, both inside and outside the Federal Trade Commission. And Madam Chairwoman, I commend you for calling this hearing today. I believe this is a most important subject for all of the constituents and the stakeholders around the FTC to remember and reassess on a regular basis, and that is, does the FTC have the power it needs, and does the FTC have the wherewithal to exercise that power? In the gist of my testimony, on the first point, I believe that it is almost beyond dispute now that the FTC has probably the most powerful weapon that the government has given any authority to protect competition and consumers, and that is Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act. This section is so broad and gives the Commission the kind of power to address almost any perceived anti-competitive problem as well as any perceived consumer protection problem that the agency might assess. I believe that for the Federal Trade Commission, it is in fact often ironically a detriment, a disadvantage when the Commission is given a specific authority to address some narrow character or some narrow aspect of its jurisdiction. And the reason why is because this broad power of the FTC Act that allows the Commission to basically assess whether the costs of some practice it sees in the marketplace outweigh the benefits. If the Commission stops using that power and starts enforcing narrow and specific grants of authority, that broad power will begin to atrophy, and I can give you some examples shortly. I also made a point in my testimony that I think the most important limitation the Federal Trade Commission faces is the limitation of resources. And this limitation of resources is something that we faced when I was there, of course, and something that any government agency is always going to face because our government has limited resources. I would add to that today, on the basis of the testimony that you've already heard, my concurrence with many of the comments that the other significant constraint the Commission faces is the constraint of exemptions and exclusions from its jurisdiction. I myself, on behalf of small businesses, have occasionally gone to the Commission and asked the Commission to look into this particular anti-competitive activity or that anti-competitive activity, only to be told by the Commission staff that they were concerned that this activity came too close to an exemption that had been written into the law or an exclusion from the Commission jurisdiction. I think that it is almost always a benefit to an industry and to a sector, even if it's regulated by some other particular agency of jurisdiction, for the Commission to have the ability to shine the light of its unfairness authority and its unfair methods of competition authority on the practices that may be going on in that sector. On another point that is related to the restraints that the Commission faces on its budget, when I was a director of the Bureau of Consumer Protection, we were occasionally tasked with the assignment of writing rules and regulations to implement various statutory mandates that the Commission received. I believe the Commission, if anything, is writing more rules and more regulations today. And to an enforcer of the consumer protection and competition laws, what that tells the Commission is that the cops that would otherwise be on the beat are going to be back at their desks, and they are going to be deciding how to address comments, how to draft rules, how to respond to rulemaking proposals. I would commend the committee for calling the attention of the Commission to those areas that need attention and telling the commission to get its cops out on the beat and start bringing the cases. I can tell you from my experience at the commission, and I can tell you from my experience since I have left the commission, that there are a number of senior, a number of energetic junior, and a number of policymaking officials in between who are ready, willing, and able to hear the complaint of a small business, of a medium-sized business, of an entrepreneur, of an innovator who is facing a barrier to compete. Those businesses will receive a very warm welcome at the FTC, and I believe they will also receive very warm welcomes if they are given the opportunity to reach outside the narrow scope of what the FTC may do. Finally, I think that it is a very easy proxy for what the FTC should be doing to ask the FTC again and again and again, are you raising or are you lowering the barriers for small businesses and for entrepreneurs to compete and to enter into businesses? If your law enforcement action lowers barriers, you are likely helping competition. If you are raising barriers, and sometimes unfortunate FTC enforcement has raised barriers, but if you are lowering barriers, you're almost certainly helping competition. Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee, that concludes my prepared testimony.